the whole problem with social media is that it turns everybody into a spectator. So what you can do is if you can find a way to transform the spectator into a participant, that's the goal. Because then they identify with what you're doing because they're participating in it instead of looking at it. So I think the strategy to get to that point goes back to that contributing value so they can actually do something with it so they're not just watching you. Gotcha. I feel like when people are watching you, that multiplies the alienation between your fan base and you, between your audience and you. Like you want the...
feel like they're a part of something.
Yeah, like if you're performing on stage, as soon as you step off the stage and you're performing amongst the people, that changes the game.
Yeah, I like Carter stayed on the stage for at least 10 minutes after he performed just to talk to people and chop it up.
I would have stayed longer too. It's just
I know those guys are like...
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I don't know, I've been to shows. Lil Debbie does this at every show. Like, I did photo at one of her shows recently, and she, after the show, she had a whole hour-long meet and greet with everybody. She just said, I'll be in the back, come over and talk to me. And, and that's big. There's rappers that are not even on Lil Debbie level, and they act like they can't talk to anybody. It's like, I don't see how that's really conducive to solidifying relationship with the actual people that are going to be your constituency.
Well, that's the thing. It shows the motivations behind the artist. Like if the artist isn't trying to connect with the audience on a personal level, then they're in it for reasons that are different than, the only reason you should be really in it is if you're trying to enrich the community or enrich the audience. And if you're not doing that, then one, you're only going to get very far, but two, you're not going to be connecting with them. You're not going to be staying after the show to talk to them. You're not going to be doing X, Y, and Z that you'd expect somebody who's trying to connect would want to do. So it's like you can totally... That's how we gauge who we want to work with and who we want to have FaceTime with based on their behavior patterns with their interaction with everybody else, which sounds like everybody probably does that, but we really put that underneath that context of social media marketing. So I feel like it's super important, It's like
I think it's weird that fans try to hold artists and celebrities to a higher level than them. They're just people who worked hard and are successful.
Yeah.
What is the vibe and aspects you guys are trying to portray? Like in your music video, the one on Instagram Live, where everything is in reverse. What is your aspect, aesthetic and all that?
When we went to go shoot that, it kind of we had the storyboard, but the reverse part of it we didn't even think about doing that until we just literally hit reverse on it during the edit process. And I don't know, it's a testament to just being fluid in as far as executing whatever the vision is. So in that case, we were like, okay, we're going to shoot this Spring Classic video. We didn't want to keep it in one specific kind of step 8 of, because there's so many videos that are just the rapper rapping in the video. Yeah. And it's it can be cool, but it's been done before. Yeah, exactly. So that's part of the situation, trying to make something that we haven't seen before. Yeah. Novelty at all times. What's the freshest way we can present this given the tools we have? That was no budget involved.
Exactly.
I
think society is really looking for unique people, and unique people stand out really fast nowadays because of social media and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's trying to be like somebody else. They're not trying to be themselves and be a little more unique, and spread that give the community their own little piece of love and their own perspective on how they see things. And they're just trying to grab a hold of what is already there and just kind of ride along with that,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stigma that goes in with that too. You see that in artists, you see that with people like SoundCloud artists, then you get that bad stigma oh, you're a SoundCloud artist, then they think that you're just not really taking stuff very seriously.
Well, you call you a SoundCloud rapper, that's the
one. Yeah,
SoundCloud
rapper, not even an artist. Yeah, not even
an
artist, just a SoundCloud rapper, and then you just get that stigma, and then if you try to promote your stuff through that platform, which is a really great platform, but a lot of people just won't take you seriously, but that's what separates you, because people, if they sit down and listen to your stuff, and they listen to what you're talking about, then they're going to understand and get it, and they're going to want to help you out down the road.
And the more you that you can be as an artist, then that's how you're gonna. That's the separation between different products at the store. There's tons of different cereal brands, you know what I'm saying? But what makes Lucky Charms different from Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Captain Crunch or Apple Jacks? You have to bring you to the table, and then, it's like you said a second ago, all the things that you're trying to be, cut all that out. And then what you're left with, that's so powerful.
Yeah, be you and love yourself. And if people don't love you back, then that's just too bad,
Yeah. Because even if you're garbage, if you're being yourself, what can somebody really say? They can just be they may not like that specific taste, but they can really identify with the fact that you're being as authentic as you can be in your expression, which is...
Well, also, I think as long as you're leveraging your unique qualities, that's the only way you're going to get your niche that's particular to what you do, because otherwise, you got 50 rappers or 50 artists, they all sound the same, to the point where it's you can just copy and paste. And it's as soon as you're a copy and paste artist, you've lost because you're disposable.
But the sad thing is, they might be a copy and paste artist, but they might actually have like a personality, but you can't see that behind the image. I think personality is huge. It gets you far in the workplace and everything like that. What I think is interesting is, so you guys already have like a brand, like clothing line?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. How did that start?
It's a long story.
Here's the thing. We always, even when we were young, like we've always, I don't want to say had aspirations to like make a clothing line, but it's more like we've wanted to have dope clothes. Like,
there's layers to it. It's like our whole intention in the very beginning was we want to create our own world. Like basically to just give some context to that, we've moved growing up. We've moved like 25 plus times. So in that life of just always moving, you get to a point where you want to, I should say, the world of everyday life becomes pretty trivial to you. So you want to create your own world because you feel like you don't belong in any one context because you're always switching in between contexts.
Right.
So in doing that how that manifests itself is that we got the clothing brand, the music, paintings, philosophy, text, like every single aspect that's going to comprise what a new world looks like. We want to do that. So that's what the label is really. And then the clothing brand is kind of just a reflection of that. Because I mean, if you're in your own world, then you got to ask, what are people wearing in that world? Right. Like what's the costumes that's gonna, if society is a theater and everybody's on stage, what are those costumes? And a lot of people don't really think about that. So that's why a lot of people kind of look the same because they're all wearing the same costumes. Because
they're all part of that same, that same world.
Or it's to show an image that makes people pay attention to you. Like Travis Scott, he probably doesn't always want to wear chains and like the girls, but like that's what people are paying attention to, and that's what
that's Travis Scott.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of taking control of how you present yourself to the world, and then in doing that, you can kind of, have you guys heard of it's like a science called semiotics? It's the study of signs and symbols, and we pay a lot of attention to that because if you can manipulate that science of how signs and symbols impact your perception of reality, then you have a lot of leverage in how you navigate what we call reality, so to speak, because it's all just symbolic interaction. It's all Carter Wilson, Ellis Wilson, like all these things are just symbols that we relate through. So it's all about exercising the malleability of how we do that.
Exactly.
And
Where'd you guys grow up? Did you grow up in Brooklyn or did you just move to Brooklyn?
So we were born in Oakland.
Oakland.
Yeah, yeah. And then after that we really just been moving around like a lot. So I mean, we lived in Georgia for a year. We lived in
Virginia Beach for a year.
Yeah, Virginia. Santa Rosa for a couple years. It's this little town up north of Oakland. We spent some time in childhood living at the base of this mountain called Mount Diablo, which is like 55 minutes outside of Oakland. So that was an interesting experience because it was really like as little kids, we just got to explore the mountains.
Man.
Yeah, so that kind of influences a lot of our orientation to life to this day.
So you guys probably don't even regret moving around. Do you guys regret moving around so much, or do you think it like helped you build you as a person?
I should say
it does build as a person, but there's like certain things that we cannot relate to, as far as like
childhood friends.
Yeah,
childhood
friendship is not hard to.
Also, just like when you imagine entering a small town, but you didn't grow up in the small town. That's kind of what it's always like.
That makes sense.
And so it's like I can see people that be like with their friends from middle school, to this day, but it's like, that's cool.
I think
we have each other though. That's important.
Exactly. That's why it's kind of helps, like the fact that it's just the three of us doing all of this, and it's our bond's even tighter because there's not a lot of like, I guess, other people.
Plus, I think one of the main advantages is that when you move around so many different contexts, the way you're able to code switch between different languages, you really master that tool. You can really like, if we're living in the South, if we're living in, a small town like Olympia, or if we're back in Oakland, there's all those different codes of language you have to switch in between, which I feel like there's two kinds of people. There's people that can't do that and people that can do that. And the people that can do that, they can speak your language and then you can't speak their language because they can speak all these different, it's like it's just that linguistic advantage, I think.
And are you talking about like perception with that and the way people express
all
themselves
of it,
differently?
like the whole, like the whole thing. Like if I'm on some street in Oakland, there's a certain way I have to dress, a certain way I have to talk,
definitely.
A certain way I have to look.
A certain kind of eye contact you have to make, but or not,
Mm-hmm. And then in Olympia, like we were just in Olympia for a year back in 2018. It's a whole different.
Yeah, that's what we want to get into also.
Yeah.
So